Well, hey there, Sony. Welcome back to the fold. This episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All of the incredible people sharing content across social media and the generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those amazing nerds later in the video. A beautiful refresh. Sony has a huge reputation for premium wireless cans. Just perusing airports on recent trips, Sony is one of the main brands you'll see folks wearing, and with good reason. The XMs are some of the best travel headphones on the market today. My go-to travel headphones in the past have been the Sony XM4. I liked the XM5, but you see, I want a great travel can, and one thing I appreciate is the ability to fold up small. So no AirPods Max, no XM5. Is nothing against a good travel case. The new case with the XM6 is really nice too. It's fancy. It's a great setup to put the cans in. It's got this clever new magnetic latch that holds it all together. But if I'm trying to pack light, I can save some space, leave this, and just take this. Especially really handy as I'm kind of packing out of camera bags these days. So my impressions here are going to hinge on skipping a generation. I played with the XM5, but I lived in the XM4. And here we see some significant tech upgrades with a leapfrog buying strategy. Happily, most areas are an upgrade, but we don't lose some of the old school features like having a cabled audio output. We get the collapsible design, but the frame is completely redesigned. Less creaky, almost no self-noise from moving your jaw around, just less to distract you from your music. It's easier to make a quiet headband when parts don't move. It's impressive to hear almost nothing from a folding travel can. In my not so humble opinion, a travel headphone should be defined by a compact and easy to carry experience. These ear cups aren't the largest or the lushest. We're balancing portability against total potential comfort. I wish there was just a bit more padding on the top of the band, but this is also a really light headphone. I wore them easily for a couple of hours at a time. I have a decently robust skull. Another way of saying I have a big old fat head, but beefy gaming headsets like the Odyssey Maxwell tend to not bother me much, so your mileage may vary. But roughly 100 grams lighter than AirPods Max. I care less about weighty, premium build materials that feel nice in the hand when I'm going for portable, lightweight, on my skull, but I digress. The internals here are kinda exciting. I'm getting a 2-generation improvement to the noise canceling technology. My XM4 have been solid performers, and they cut a ton of noise. I think Sony has been better than most at delivering noise reduction without ratcheting that stuffy ear pressure feeling. I'm not really sensitive to that feeling, and for me, Sony ANC has been a pleasant effect. That means a little bit of balance sitting in front of my workstation and the fans are running. I still hear a light sense of that air on the XM4, it's just significantly reduced. But moving to the XM6, the feeling on my ears is about the same. It doesn't feel like any more or less pressure, but the isolation and noise reduction is significantly more effective. Computer fans completely vanish, and without playing any audio, I'm just stuck with the sounds of my own internal biology. I've only been using them for about a week at the time I shot this, and I have not gotten to take them on a flight yet, but just doing a few silly tests, like playing ambient soundtracks and just turning my near fields way up. I hear a similar improvement with constant loud sounds. I have every confidence these will be better than the XM4 on a flight. They're easily one of the best performers on the market, full stop. It is important though that these ear cups land a good seal around the ear for the ANC to be at its most effective. You get a decent bit of passive noise reduction if the pads are closing around your ears. Lately, I've been wearing larger hoops that stick out the bottom of the XM6, and if the angle is too far back on the headband, then I can hear the seal break if I turn my head and the muscles in my neck start pushing against these ear cups. Not just the comfort, but the fit is critical for any kind of audio product. The tech here kind of depends on that narrower margin of angle. I think most people, through pure trial and error, will eventually learn to just put them on the right way for them. But if you go into your first couple listening sessions listening for the ANC, you'll figure it out a lot faster. One of the areas I was hoping to see more improvement though was battery life. Getting 30 to 40 hours on a charge is still pretty good. I don't see Many people complaining about that just in daily use, but some of our mid-priced options are starting to push this a lot farther, like twice as long on a single charge with ANC on. Sony's charge tech is solid. It doesn't take long to top them off. You can listen cabled if you want to. They pair decently with my little travel DACs. Also unfortunate, I was hoping to see USB playback. It's always handy when a headphone will pop up on a computer as a dedicated audio device. So we don't have that, but thankfully you can use them while charging. Plug them in, turn them on, and you can still connect over Bluetooth. But for all the techie bits, these are headphones, and the most important part of a headphone is how it sounds. And this was maybe a bigger adjustment than I was expecting over the XM4. Now, Sony moved to a smaller driver from the XM4 to the XM5, and the XM6 use a similar 30mm driver. It's been interesting seeing people have different reactions to this headphone tuning, from some people calling it the best sounding headphone they've ever used, some praising the clarity of instrument positions, and others complaining about the low frequency tuning. I think Sony is going for a consumer-y pleasing sound. We're gonna lift that bass, give people a good thump, and that can be entertaining for some. I'm not a bass junkie or a skull rumbler, and this, out of the box, veers dark for my tastes. I think a lot of people will like it, and it makes sense when folks are out and about. Now, think of the presentation someone might want on an airplane or in a really busy cafe. Lots of noise competing for your attention. The ANC can sculpt out a lot of consistent distracting sound, but a colorful and lows-heavy presentation should also push people over that last hurdle when they're listening in less than ideal circumstances. If you're listening in a really clean room, audiophile listening conditions, you'd probably want to listen to your music on open back cans or on nice speakers. But for my tastes, a slight adjustment to the lows, a lift to the mids, and some more sparkle in the highs, this is an easy headphone to adjust. Sony includes a first-party 10-band EQ in the companion app. I understand some people just want to buy a headphone and turn it on and it should just work, but I think when you're spending this much money, a little curiosity about the features, a little adjusting will take a fun sound and make it perfect for your tastes. There's always a debate in audiophile communities about EQ. Ideally, I think you want to grab a headphone that naturally presents close to what you like, but on a lot of headphones, you can dial in a sound you will love. And it's interesting coming from the XM4. The out-of-the-box sound on the XM4 is still consumer-y, but I like it better than the XM6. But playing with both of these in the Sony app, I can make the XM6 sound better to what I want than I can the XM4. And I wonder if the shift here, maybe Sony engineers slightly overcompensated for the difference in driver sizes. I don't know. Now, there's a casual understanding of headphone drivers that bigger means more bassier, and it's really not as simple as that, but maybe in light of other brands that can drive mega bass, maybe Sony overcorrected just a bit. I'll put the graph up on the screen somewhere. If you're curious what my adjustments were, that this is what I did to make my XM6 sound better for me. Of course, this is all gonna play with how your ears respond to these kinds of changes and what kind of frequency response you're really looking for. So wrapping this all up, bringing this plane in for a landing, it's a headphone I feel confident will be on my skull a lot over the coming years. It is really cool. Sony could have tried just going back to the XM4 design and tweaked some of the creaky bits, but instead, it's clear Sony stripped this design down to its circuits and built it back up from scratch. It looks familiar. It delivers something familiar, but a much better version of that familiarity. This is a fresh new headphone. And I'm drawing a line in the sand here. I'm putting an adjective or a couple adjectives on the XM6. This is a premium headphone, but I still don't believe that someone should dump all their money into one audio solution. You should try to find the right tool for the right job. When I'm listening at home, I'll probably still opt for my fancy planar magnetics or my Meze 105s. So this is a premium headphone, but it's a premium travel headphone. It performs very well in most situations, but I think it really shines when you're using all those techie and noise canceling bits. It's the best version of this idea on the market right now, and it's gonna live in my bag for when I need good audio on the go. And that's going to do it for this video. I've really been looking forward to the refresh on the WH-1000 series of headphones. I think Sony has one of the more compelling arguments in this space for travel audio. And while they've absolutely earned this great reputation, that's not the end of the conversation. Over the several generations of this line of headphones, we've seen the entire industry get more competitive. So while this is part one, and I'm just sharing some general thoughts about my experiences using the XM6, I've got two more videos coming. One where we want to take a look at some inexpensive options just to see how the other end of the market is starting to approach consumer audio. And then I think we might need to spend some time with something even more expensive than what Sony is currently selling here. So stay tuned. We've got some fun audio goodness to spread around. I love geeking out on this stuff, and the folks who get to see the results of my testing and my reviewing first are, of course, my amazing patrons. All of the folks on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names scrolling by on your screen right now. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. These folks are literally helping us keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They are the coolest tech pals in the universe, and I absolutely cherish the kinds of conversations we get into, and they help drive the direction of videos and editorials on my channel. They're basically the coolest tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. I hope you'll consider joining the community at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Now, you know where you can find me across the rest of the internet at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere, but these days I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, a little on the Blue Skis, and a lot less so on the Threads and the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and none at all on that dumpster fire site. And I will catch you all on the next video.